Today on John David Goes, we're talking about why you shouldn't compare yourself to others. Before we talk about the main topic, let's talk about running because, hey, I started running last week. So I started running up and down the driveway a few times just to see if it would actually work. It was a little awkward, a little funky, but I did it. And then I got out on the road, went around the block. It's a short block, it's 3/4 of a mile. My hamstring was very tight. More than likely it was because it was overcompensating for the weak quadricep muscle. I took a day off and then ran again, did 3/4 of a mile. Hamstring was a little tight at first, then it loosened up. So last week I held it all to 3 runs of 3/4 of a mile. That was easy. All right, guess what? We're just proving that we can run. This week I started out and I did a mile. What we'll do is we'll do 3 1-mile runs. Most of the time we'll follow it up with a walk afterwards or a hike afterwards. And then we'll see where that goes the week after this. And we'll see what happens there. I have a tentative goal for September, and that is to ride a 50-mile mountain bike cross-country race in southeastern Missouri. I should be able to get ready for that, and it won't be a total death march by then. Three things need to happen for me to be able to do this race. One of them is in my control, and the other 2 sort of really aren't in my control. So it's like, great, wonderful. Two-thirds of what I want to do is not in my control. And it's like, well, the only thing I can control is my fitness. And so I have a plan of building up mileage, building up fitness all the way up to the race. And I should be ready in September. I don't see it as a problem. I don't foresee any problems with that. The 2 things that aren't in my control that I'm just going to have to wait and see is, one is what are going to be the restrictions on racing, and I'm talking about in Missouri, so I don't, there aren't a whole lot of races going on anyways right now. So do I think September is a go? Probably. So the real big kicker is I ordered a new bicycle. When I ordered the bicycle and talked to them, they said June, and I noticed that another bicycle manufacturer who builds a similar build with similar parts to what I've got on mine, they're quoting July. And then I've noticed that since I ordered my bicycle a month and a half ago, at mid-March, I guess it was, I've since noticed that they're now quoting an October delivery date for new bicycles. I haven't contacted them. I mean, what am I going to do? Harass them? Because they're not going to build the bike any faster because they don't have parts. So if they're still waiting on parts, I'm in a bit of a waiting game, and there's no way I'm riding my current bicycle on this race. So I have to wait until the bicycle comes in before I register for the race. And of course, by the time that comes in, we'll have a really good idea of knowing whether the race is actually going to go forward as planned. Topic of the day, comparison. Someone told me years ago is that the seeds of discontent are sown in comparison. Comparing yourself to others is a really dicey thing. It doesn't always work out so well because you have no idea what you're not really who. You don't even know if you're comparing apples and apples. You could take 2 people off the street and then compare them, and it's like, what does that prove? If you took a scientist and then they took a group and they did a control group and then compared it against another control group, that's a comparison. That works. This is what brought this about. I was hiking this weekend, and I call it a hike. Let's be honest. My idea of a hike is really pretty robust. So I'm catching these people. I'm catching up on the backside of these 2 guys hiking. And, I said, hey, you mind if I slip by? And they're like, oh, yeah, no problem. And as I go by, one of them starts to make an excuse to his buddy about why he's moving so slow. And his buddy didn't seem to care whether he was moving slow or not. It didn't seem to bother his buddy at all that they were moving slow. Apparently, this guy had a problem with moving slow, and because he was comparing his pace to my pace. I mean, that's the only reason why that conversation started. And I was like, it's like, dude, why are you comparing yourself to me? You don't even know who I am. My athletic background and your athletic background, probably two completely different things. And that's what I want to get across in this video is it's that when you're comparing yourself to others, it's very, very difficult. It's very difficult to do. There are a whole host of things, background stuff that you don't know about somebody else that you're comparing yourself to. Now, if you go out and run a 5K and you compare yourself to everybody in your age group, and okay, so if you want to do that, great. You do that because that's a race, it's a controlled environment, everybody's running. Now, you don't really know to what level each person is taking that race seriously. Some people are going out there and that's their A race for the year and they're going to flog it. They're just going to absolutely lay it down, and then they won't do anything the rest of the year. And there are other people that won't give it the full gas. But you don't know that, and you can't know that. So if you want to compare yourself to them, great. You could do that in a race setting. But outside training, if you're just banging around the block, just don't compare yourself to anybody else, because whatever they're doing, who knows? It's just so difficult to compare yourself to somebody because you don't know where they are. I mean, like somebody sees me hiking on a trail, and they don't know that I'm recovering from a catastrophic injury. They have no clue that I'm recovering from that, and they might look at me, go, wow, look at how slow that old guy is. And well, yeah, I might be a little slow, but look where I had to come from. I couldn't walk 9 months. 9 months ago, I couldn't even walk. And now I'm walking and I'm back into running. And I'm doing it. Am I fast? No. Am I comparing myself to, and I'm not even comparing myself to what I was before I injured myself. That's not even that's the furthest thing from my mind. I try to just put that away. What I am comparing myself to is what I was last week. Am I better than I was last week? Okay, well, if I'm better than I was last week, then I'm on the right path. And that's all I can compare myself to, is what I was last week. And then guess what I'm going to do next week? I'm going to compare to what I was this week. And I'm going to move forward. And that's how I'm going to get to this 50-mile race, is I'm going to compare myself to where I was when I started this recovery process, and I'm going to move on. I hope you'll think twice before you compare yourself to others, and I hope you'll remember that the seeds of discontent are always found in comparison.